Happy Thursday, Life Point. We are thrilled to be with you today, as we always are. We want to continue today with the idea of love and how it applies to us today, especially in the time that we are in right now, where there's so much hatred and bitterness and frustration going on in the world. I believe love is a good topic to discuss today. So in 1965, a musician or a singer sang a song called "What the World Needs Now," and a couple lines of that song is, "What the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing that there's just too little of." Her name was Jackie DeShannon. She sang that song in the mid-'60s. The Beatles sang a song as well as "All You Need Is Love." And today, in the time that we are in, I believe that is very fitting, that all we need in this world is love. All we need as humans is love for one another, but not just any type of love. What you and I need is the love of God, because the love of God oftentimes, or will always, propel us and push us into the direction of things that we are uncomfortable with, fulfilling or doing. Love sees beyond that and allows us the ability to do those things that a lot of times we're not comfortable doing. And the one thing in particular that we want to talk about today is that love will propel us to forgive others who have done us wrong. So love propels us to forgive. So I want to talk about that. And I believe that Matthew chapter 18 has a parable where it talks about a king who forgave somebody who owed him a ton of money. Forgave this individual. After the individual pleaded, he let him go. That individual in return went to the people that owed him money and started to harass and started to physically abuse this individual who owed him just a few $1,000s, when he originally, the guy that went to the king before, owed $1 million to the king and was forgiven. He goes and can't forgive somebody who owes him just a few $1,000s, imprisons him until he can pay the money back. And so the king hears about it and says, shouldn't you have forgiven that individual as I forgave you? And because you didn't, he put him in prison, tortured him until he was able to pay the debt that he originally owed. And so I want to say this, that a bitter reaction to those who have sinned against us oftentimes is greater than the one who sinned against us. When we react and respond with bitterness or hatred, it is oftentimes worse than the one who sinned against us. But Jesus taught us that if we want to be forgiven, we must learn to forgive. And that's what that parable was talking about in Matthew 18, to forgive those as you have been forgiven. I want to thank God because He has forgiven me of all my sin, of all my trespasses, and all my sin has been done to a perfect, flawless God. And yet He was able to forgive me. And He's the only one in this life that has ever been justified not to forgive, because He's perfect, because He's flawed, or not flawed. He's been justified not to forgive, yet He chose to forgive me. He's chosen to forgive you. So, because, again, forgiveness is a product of love. So, I want to suggest to you that the smallest sin towards a flawless God is greater than the biggest sin committed towards a sinner or another human being. When we sin against God, even if it's the smallest sin ever, it's still greater than the greatest sin done to someone here on earth. Because God is perfect, God is flawless. Yet He has chosen to forgive every single one of our sins, every horrible thing we've ever done here on earth. God has chosen to forgive us of those sins. That was what the cross was all about, to forgive us of our past, our present, and our future sin. His love for us drove Him to the cross so that you and I could be forgiven. When sin is committed against us, when a trespass is done to us, when someone has talked about us or gossiped about us or done something wrong to us, to our family, whatever it may be. It has a lasting effect on us, a devastating effect on us, mentally, physically, emotionally. And ultimately, because it's so devastating to us, it's so hurtful to us, the only thing that could make it worse is to not forgive that individual who has who has done wrong against us. Because when we are sinned against or somebody does something wrong to us, again, it hurts us, it messes with us mentally, physically, emotionally, and ultimately leads to messing with us spiritually, because we have allowed unforgiveness to set in to our life and into our heart, and we become bitter towards that individual or to those people because of what they've done to us. We become bitter, we become vengeful, we become spiteful towards that individual. And there's a saying that says, not to forgive because you hope the other person will suffer is like drinking poison hoping someone else will die. To not forgive someone hoping that they will suffer ultimately will lead to us being the ones that suffer, because it will defile us. The nature of bitterness is unforgiveness. Okay, when we don't forgive, we become bitter. And you might have heard it said like this before: bitterness in one contaminates many, or one rotten apple spoils the entire bowl of apples. Okay, bitterness in one will contaminate many. And you may be saying, well, how does that even happen? How can I contaminate many if I'm the one that's been hurt? If I'm the one that's upset, or I'm the one that a trespass has been done against? How can that be? How can that contaminate many? But in Hebrews 12:15, this is what it says: see to it that no one comes short of the grace of God, that no root of bitterness springing up causes trouble, and by it many be defiled. And then in Mark 9:42, it says not to be a stumbling block. It says that we would be better off to have a millstone tied around our neck, and to be cast into the ocean, than to be a stumbling block to somebody. Well, how can I be a stumbling block if I'm the one that was hurt, if I'm the one that was offended, if I'm the one that's been bothered or been gossiped about or talked about? How can I possibly be a stumbling block to others? And I want to say it this way: when bitterness begins to set in, if that saying is true, the bitterness in one contaminates many. What happens is, when bitterness sets into our heart, we become vengeful, we become hateful. We want people to see things our way. And so we start to talk to others about the trespass that was done against us. We talk to others about how this person did me wrong, and this person said this about me, and this person in fact said this about you, and we start to stir up issues and cause problems and start to cause chaos when we become bitter, because we want that person to feel the same way we feel. We want that person who hurt us to suffer like we have suffered. And so we go to others and we spit out the poison or the bitterness into innocent lives, people that have nothing to do with it, people that can't offer solutions, people that can't take care of the problem for you. We begin to contaminate those individuals, and they become defiled because they have now taken on that poison that we have spit out, that bitterness that we have poured out into them. And a lot of times they ultimately look at the individual that hurt us, or that hurt me or hurt you. They look at them in a skewed manner, and in all actuality would never have seen them that way, but because we were bitter, and we went and poured out that bitterness towards people that had nothing to do with it, they have now become defiled and contaminated. And in essence, they become collateral damage because of our bitterness, because of our unforgiveness. They ultimately are dying as well because of what we have shared with them, or have given them our side of the story, and they become defiled in that sense. So that's how you and I can become a stumbling block. When we start to pour out those problems towards people that have nothing to do with it. And that's what bitterness will cause. But Forgiveness. What does forgiveness do? What does forgiveness cause? Forgiveness, as we get ready to wrap up, when I forgive somebody, I lay down my right to condemn that person. And I start to show the same love and mercy and grace towards that person that did me wrong. I start to show them that same love and mercy and grace that God has shown you and I, or shown me. So when you forgive them, you lay down the right to condemn, and you show that individual the same mercy and love that God has shown you in your life. Matthew 5:7 says this in a nutshell. Forgiving others is an investment into my future, to your future. When you forgive others, you are investing in your future. And it says it and I say that because it says it's for the merciful will obtain mercy. So when you show mercy, you are investing into your life, into your future, into your family's life and future. When you forgive those who have done you wrong, you are investing into your own future. Okay? Because for you to obtain mercy, you must show mercy and give mercy. Remember this. Love forgives because love invests in people. When you love somebody, you forgive those people. When you have the love of God in your heart, it will push you to forgive. It will motivate you to forgive because it invests in lives. And Jesus, or God, has always been, and greatest investment has been in the lives of His creation. And so when you forgive, you are showing the love of God towards others. You're not only investing into to your own life, because when you forgive somebody, ultimately you're doing it for yourself, so that you can be free from the bondage of bitterness, from the bondage of unforgiveness. So you're doing it for yourself, but also the residual effect of you forgiving that individual or those people is you're not just investing in your own life, but you're investing in their life. Because believe it or not, people a lot of times feel guilty for the wrong they've done, and they hold on to that. And so when you forgive somebody of what they've done to you, you are releasing them as well. And it's a load off their shoulders, and they are now able to move forward into the victory that God has destined for their life. So when love forgives, because love invests in people and in the freedom of people. Okay, and that's what God did for us. And we're going to wrap it up with this. God, before you and I could ever see that we needed forgiveness, before you and I could ever see or want to have freedom in our life, God forgave us by giving His only Son, who died on a cross, and His blood took care of our past, our present, and our future sins. So He didn't just take care of the past, He took care of the present and the future, because He saw the very best in you and I. So He forgave us. He invested in our life so that we could be free to walk in this life, so that we could forgive others as well. But go out, make a difference. Okay, live in the freedom that God has given us. We are free from sin because He has forgiven us. Free yourself and free others of their sin towards you by forgiving them the way God has forgiven us. That's how you can make a difference in this life. That's how you can make a difference in the life of somebody else, is forgive as you have been forgiven. God bless you. We thank you for joining us. We look forward to seeing you on Sunday on in-person service at 10:30, or on Facebook or YouTube Live. We look forward to ministering to you. We love you. Go out and make a difference. God bless you.